100%.
North Korea. Many in the U.S., let's keep it on Trump. Trump has said that China can do much more to rein in North Korea. Is China doing all that it can to contain this very volatile and very dangerous regime?
It seems that on this issue alone, President Trump was on the same page with President Obama. But I can tell you, the very reason and the key or the crucial issue, the crux of the nuclear issue on the Korean Peninsula was not originated from China. It was an issue originated from the disputes between DPRK and the United States. And Rachel, you just told me that you've been to DPRK. Whenever you talk to people there, you might feel that they would like to talk to the American officials more than talk to the Chinese officials on this issue. And it's my understanding that discussions between Washington and Pyongyang have always been there. On the part of China.
China has undoubtedly influence over North Korea. Do you think China will do more to prevent what could be a dramatic military escalation, even a war on the Korean Peninsula?
China has influence. The United States has more influence, I can tell you. If you look at, and if you look back, China have made our own efforts. DPRK is our neighbor, close neighbor. Of course, we care much more than anybody else about any implications. For example, their development of the nuclear weapons and any kind of instability or the word, as you just mentioned, the war that might break out on the Korean Peninsula. That will have impacts, negative impacts on China. So we care much more than anybody else. And we try our efforts on this. But our very purpose is to find a feasible way to get this issue resolved rather than any other political agenda. So that's why, from experience, we draw to the conclusion that we have to get a balance on our policy. First, China is committed to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Second, China is committed to the preservation of the peace and stability on the peninsula. Third, we still believe only negotiations, peaceful negotiations, is relevant to solve this issue.
Trump has said repeatedly that China isn't doing enough to rein in North Korea. One of his tweets, China has been taking out massive amounts of money and wealth from the U.S. in totally one-sided trade and won't help on North Korea. Nice. January 2017.
We've already talked about the trade issue. On this DPRK issue, if you look back to the history, in the past decade, at which point DPRK come to the agreement, commitment to abandon its nuclear weapon system and the programs. And they observe their commitment. They carry out practical measures to denuclearize. That was exactly after the September 19 agreement among all the six-party talks. So actually that was a credit you should give to China. China initiated that, China helped that. But what about the others? For example, the United States, just because of some incidental issue, a couple of months after this September 19th agreement, parties broke away from this framework. It was very, very unfortunate. Until now, you even couldn't find any other framework that could be competitive to that one.
But frankly, I'm not hearing from you sort of a big commitment from China to try and rein in North Korea. You're saying the U.S. has more influence, the U.S. should do it, China's doing what it can. We have a very volatile leader in North Korea who may launch very soon intercontinental ballistic missiles and escalate tensions dramatically, very soon.
I say DPRK, I say the U.S., I say a lot about the U.S. because, as I said in the very beginning, the United States is the key to this issue. Secondly, whether China has done anything. China, not like the United States, we never believe in any unilateral actions or sanctional measures. So if you look at all the resolutions adopted by the Security Council of the United Nations, without China, that's not possible. And those very stringent sanction regimes imposed on DPRK was a kind of common agreement between China and the United States. I can tell you, the U.S. administration, the U.S. government appreciated a lot on China's efforts on that. Of course, I should repeat again, we never agree any sanction regimes outside the UN Security Council because we still stick to the multilateralism.
Going back to the core